Hello, fellow ink drinkers, and welcome back to the Blind Girls Book Talk podcast. My name is Aria.
And I'm Belle.
And we are two sisters who love reading and love books. So what we've done is we've created this show in order to talk about different bookish content. Now that can range from book theories to book reviews to recent read talks to buddy read talks. You know, the list does go on. But today we are going to be talking about a book to movie comparison. And the book to movie comparison we are going to be talking about is Stardust by Neil Gaiman. Now, I adore this movie. The movie is what I've seen first. And then I have recently been able to actually listen to the audiobook version of this book because for the longest time I didn't know that the movie was based on a book. And then finally somebody had told me and I was just like, oh, I need to check out that book. And so finally all the stars aligned, so to say, and I was able to listen to the audiobook, and now I kind of have some comparisons between the two. Which would you like me to run down first, like synopsis wise?
Whatever you want to do, because I've only seen the movie a handful of times, and I enjoyed the movie very much so.
Okay, so what I'll do is I will probably just do a synopsis of the movie because for the most part, there are story beats that go together. However, the book does kind of go off into left field. Well, the movie veers very far away from the book, but that is to be expected. So in the movie, you are introduced to the main character's father, who lives in a village called Wall in England. And so the reason this village is called Wall is because there's this huge wall that's like at the perimeter of the village. And so the father is able to sneak past the guard and go over the wall. And when he does, he enters this magical kingdom. He ends up meeting a witch's assistant girl and he kind of falls in love with her. They end up doing some stuff and things. And 9 months later, a baby is brought to the father's home. And the baby's name is Tristan. Well, okay, it's like Tristran. It's really weird. I'm probably going to say Tristan.
I think, isn't that what it is in the movie?
No. Well, no. The character's name is actually Tristran. It's like Tristran. But I'm probably going to say Tristan.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, because it's like the whole Thackeray Binks. It took me a long time to realize that it was Thackeray and not Zachary. So anyway, Tristan grows up, he is becoming an adult, and he wants to impress the love of his life, who doesn't really like him, but he's a lovesick teenager. What are you going to do? And so he is sitting with this girl, and they see a star falling. And so she said, if you can bring me the star, I'll marry you. And he says, great, sounds great. So magic things happen. He kind of learns that his mother is like this person over the wall, and she gives him a candle so that way he can go see her. He ends up thinking about the star. He goes directly to the star. Now, in the meanwhile, there's a king who dies, and in order to pick his heir to the throne, he shoots up this magic necklace that he has. It ends up knocking the star down. That's why the star fell. So Tristan ends up running into the star and he ends up saying, I'm going to bring you back. So they start their journey on the way back. So you've got Tristan with the star. You've got the heirs to the throne that are also looking for the star because they want the necklace.
And they're all killing each other.
Right. They're all killing each other on the way. That's a whole nother thing. And then you also have witches who want the star's heart, so that way they can stay young and beautiful and immortal. all of these people are looking for the star. The star ends up escaping from Tristan, and she ends up running away with a unicorn. The witch ends up setting up an inn in order to trap the star and to kill her at this inn. Tristan ends up showing up with one of the princes, so the sons of the king. And the one son ends up dead. Tristan ends up running away with the star. He uses the last of the little bit of candle that he had, and they end up going up into the clouds. So while they're up there, they meet some pirates who catch lightning. I don't know why, but they do. The pirates take a liking to Tristan and to Yvain, which is the star. And so they end up teaching Tristan how to sword fight. They end up having them dance together, that sort of thing. You find out that Yvain is falling in love with Tristan. So from there, pretty much they're heading back to the village. Other things happen, but through those things, Tristan ends up saying, hey, you know what? I love you too. More shenanigans happen, more storylines converge, and by the end of it, Tristan is the king of Stormhold, which is this land. Yvain is his queen, and that's how the story kind of goes. Because Tristan and Yvain are in love, essentially Tristan has a very long lifespan. And, you know, when Tristan has said, hey, I've had enough of seeing my kids and my grandkids grow up, it's time for, you know, us to not be here anymore. They end up getting one of those other candles, like the magic transport candles. They end up going back up into the sky. And so Yvain is the North Star and Tristan is the second star that's like next to the North Star. Okay. Cute story. Fantastic. Now for the book, because there are a lot of differences and some of them I like and others they are weird, even for me. So when the book first started, it mentioned, do you remember that poem in the Howl's Moving Castle book? The one about like you're born to strange sights and like who clove the devil's hoof and that kind of thing. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So that poem was in the beginning of this book, which I thought was interesting. I meant to look more into it before we recorded this episode, but I thought that was a pretty cool thing to kind of parallel that to a different thing altogether. Now that, of course, granted was not in the movie, but I thought that was cool. So the first main difference is that in the movie, there's just this little old man who sits and guards the wall. In the book, all of the men of the town take turns guarding the wall.
No, I like the idea of the little old man.
I know.
The little
I
old
do
man's
too.
just like, I've guarded this wall for like 90 years.
I do too, but no, it's not like that. Like there are two people who are on watch at all times, and that's, you know, how it goes. So the next big difference is that when Tristan's dad went over the wall, like nobody crossed the wall, right? In the book, once every 9 years, there's like a market day. And so anybody is allowed across the wall. So he ended up being able to cross the wall because of this market day. Okay. Which to me, that's kind of cool that there is people who knew about this magic town. And they did talk a lot about across the wall being the land of fairy, which I thought was kind of cool, but that's just me. So the next thing that is different is that across the wall in the movie, a lot of people are more humanoid, right? Or they're just like humans, but with magic. In the book, like Tristan's mom is like a cat lady, kind of. Like she has like cat ears and stuff, which I thought was weird, but you know, we're going to go with it. In the book, also, Tristan's dad ends up getting married to a girl in the town, and they end up like having their own family, and Tristan ends up being adopted by his dad's wife, which again, it's weird.
Yeah, that's weird.
In the book, Tristan has a little sister, and they make it a point in the book that they say that like the little sister picks on him, But yet Tristan has avoided all of the stories that he came from over the wall, because like that part's the same, right? They know that he came from over the wall. And somehow in his 18 years of life, he avoided all rumors and stories that he came over the wall. Like he had no idea that he was from over the wall. Like his mom was from over the wall. And to me, that seems a little far-fetched, right?
Well, like, he doesn't know in the movie, but then again, like, nobody ever questions it. Like, a baby boy just shows up on the dad's doorstep and he raises the baby.
But he, like, physically, like, looks a little bit different. Like, they said that, like, one of his ears is, like, kind of deformed because I think it's supposed to be, like, a cat ear. Like, his mom's.
Okay, now that's just wrong.
Yeah, like, there's just, like, there are so many things that I'm like, how is that not known? You know what I mean? Like, especially from... Like in the book, it's very much a small town, like a small gossipy town. There is no way that he would have avoided these stories of where he came over the wall, especially from his sister, because his sister likes to agitate him and pick on him. So like, I don't know. I just thought that was weird. The next thing is that it took a long time for the candle to come into play, and the candle did not come from his mom. In this book, the candle came from this little hairy man that Tristan found when he was able to go over the wall, because he, you know, that part is the same. He still has the girl that he loves, and she says, get me the star and I'll give you whatever you want. And so he's like, okay, great, I'll go get the star. And he goes to tell his dad, and his dad essentially walks him up to the wall and is like, so my son's going back over the wall. And everybody was kind of like, what? And he's like, no, he's going back over the wall. He kind of tells the people guarding the wall, like, you know where he came from. He's going back there. And they were just like, okay, cool. So they let him over the wall. So when he does that, somehow he meets this, I forget exactly how, but he meets this little hairy man who essentially is like his traveling companion for a little bit as they go off in search of the star. And the cool thing about it is that Tristan, he knows where things are located in the land over the wall. Like, the little furry man asks him, like, hey, which way is the star? And Tristan thinks about it for like 2 seconds, and then he points in that direction. There's a little bit more like world building to that part, which I thought was cool. But at the same time, you know, in the movie, it happens a lot quicker, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So far, I'm liking the movie better. I'm sorry. That old wall man, he's funny. I like him.
So the next difference is that the little hairy man and Tristan get lost in this wood, that the point of the wood is to get travelers lost, essentially. I guess it eats people. I don't quite know, but they get lost in this wood. Tristan is able to get them out of the wood. So that is, you know, a first major thing that, like, there was no mention of a wood in the movie. The next thing is that the candle works differently in the book than in the movie. So in the movie, it's think of where you want to go or whoever you want to go to, and the candle takes you there, right? In the book, essentially, you light the candle and then you start walking in the direction that you need to go. And the candle, like, you have to keep walking, but it kind of gets you to where you need to go. But you have to know what direction to go in. It's really weird.
That's stupid. I'm really liking the movie better.
Yeah, so there's that. So then when they get to the inn, essentially in the movie, the witch tries to heal Yvain so that way her heart's more glowy, so that way it works better. Tristan ends up, he has a little bit of the candle left, so he ends up trying to use that to get them, you know, back to his home. It doesn't work, and that's why they end up in the sky. In the book, the witch doesn't really have healing powers like she does in the movie. Like, she doesn't heal Yvain. And the candle, he ends up deciding to try to mold it together to see if it will get them at least away from the witch. And when he does that, he puts it in the fire to light it, he ends up burning his hand really, really badly, which that was to me a huge difference. After that, the captain of the ship, the lightning ship, is not named Shakespeare.
Oh,
Like, none of that stuff that happens with the pirates in the movie happens in the book.
but Shakespeare is so great.
Yeah, I know. It was a bummer.
That's stupid.
But they do help to heal them. There's also a fellowship that is mentioned, which I didn't quite understand that. I would have to listen to it again or read it again in order to try to get that. But apparently there was some sort of fellowship that this ship captain was in, as well as the little hairy man, and that's why they're helping Tristan. I don't know. So the last of the princes standing is a prince named Septimus. And so in the movie, he is drowned by the witch with a voodoo doll in the big epic climax of the movie, right? In the book, he was just poisoned by the witch. And each of the brothers who died in this book, of the princes who died in the book, they become ghosts. In the movie, when Tristan picks up the stone and he becomes, the king of Stormhold, they all realize, oh, he's the heir, and then they leave. When Septimus dies, that is when all the ghosts leave. That's it.
No, just no. Can I just no? Can we just not? You're making my heart hurt.
In the book, it took them a long time to let him go back through the wall once he reached wall. In the book, Victoria, who is Tristan's love interest, in the movie, she's a jerk. In the book, she's actually kind of nice, which is different. They end up telling him, towards the end of the book is when he finds out that he's actually from over the wall. In the movie, it's at the beginning. Yeah, I made more comparisons to Howl's Moving Castle in this, just from different things, but there's more of those. And so then, essentially, the way that this all ends is that Tristan and Yvain, they travel a lot at first before he actually goes to rule, and his mother is the one who rules Stormhold for him, and they end up going back to Stormhold so they can rule it. They cannot have children in the book, and then pretty much after he lives a long life, Tristan ends up dying. Okay, and so then Yvain becomes the ruler of Stormhold, and she does very good with it. But the thing is that apparently in their castle Stormhold, there's a room at the very top of the castle that nobody really wants to go to because it's the ceiling's falling in, and you can see the stars really well. And so the way the book ends is with Yvain just always at least once a night going up to that tower and just looking at the stars, and wanting to go back home, and she can't. So the way that the book ends is just, it's heartbreaking.
That's so depressing. The movie.
Yeah, and
Watch the movie.
and that was my last note, is that controversial opinion, but in this case, I think that the movie might be better than the book. If you're looking for cute, fun characters, cohesive story that works, in the rules of the universe, and it has a happy ending.
Yeah, I just don't read the book unless you want a depressing story is what I'm gathering.
I mean, it was an interesting story, don't get me wrong. It's just, it was very different, and I wasn't prepared for how different.
That makes sense, because, I mean, the movie is really good.
Yeah, and I really like the movie. It's really cute. All right, well, that is about all the time that we have today. Thank you for listening to my voice as I went through both the book and the movie comparison for Stardust. Of course, if you like what we're doing and you liked what you listened to today, give the episode a like, a comment, a review. a share, any of those things. They will help us to grow the podcast. But of course, if you don't like it or if you don't want to, hey, no pressure. It's just something you can if you'd like. Now, what are we going to be talking about next time?
Book theory.
A book theory. All right. Well, we will see you guys next time then. Bye.
Bye.